I almost didn't make that phone call. And if I hadn't, I'm not sure where I'd be today. It was a Thursday in November. I'd been home all day. Made a pot of soup, washed the dishes, watched the light move across the kitchen floor the way it does in the late afternoon. And somewhere around 4 o'clock I realized something that genuinely startled me. I hadn't spoken to another person all day. Not one word, out loud, to anyone. But that wasn't the part that got to me. I picked up the phone to call my son. And then I put it back down. And the thought that went through my head was, I don't want to bother him. That's the loneliest part of getting older. Not the quiet house. Not the empty chair at the table. It's the moment you start believing the people who love you are too busy for you, and you begin disappearing, a little at a time, by your own hand. I've been doing it for months without realizing it. And I want to tell you how I finally figured that out. I started noticing the pattern in small places. The grocery store was the first one. I used to go every Tuesday morning, and there was a cashier named Dolores. Heavy-set woman, reading glasses on a beaded chain, a laugh that carried 3 aisles over. She knew my name. She'd ask about my garden, I'd ask about her grandkids, and I'd leave feeling lighter than when I came in. Then the store put in self-checkout machines. Dolores moved to a different shift. And my Tuesday mornings got quieter without me noticing. I started going in and out without saying a word to anyone. Efficient, I told myself. But one afternoon I was unloading my bags at home and I thought, I haven't actually talked to a single person today. And I'd been out for 2 hours. I'd traded a warm 5-minute conversation for a faster errand. I didn't notice the cost until I'd been paying it for months. I started noticing the pattern in small places. The grocery store was the first one. I used to go every Tuesday morning, and there was a cashier named Dolores. Heavy-set woman, reading glasses on a beaded chain, a laugh that carried 3 aisles over. She knew my name. She'd ask about my garden, I'd ask about her grandkids, and I'd leave feeling lighter than when I came in. Then the store put in self-checkout machines. Dolores moved to a different shift. And my Tuesday mornings got quieter without me noticing. I started going in and out without saying a word to anyone. Efficient, I told myself. But one afternoon I was unloading my bags at home and I thought, I haven't actually talked to a single person today. And I'd been out for 2 hours. I'd traded a warm 5-minute conversation for a faster errand. I didn't notice the cost until I'd been paying it for months. By the way, before we go any further, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. Leave your city and state in the comments. I always read your messages, and they remind me just how many kind people gather here every week. Now, where were we? Last spring, my neighbor Carol saw me from her driveway and called out, Margaret. I've missed seeing you out here. And I thought, I've been right here. I haven't gone anywhere. About 2 years after Warren passed, my sister Ruth said something I've thought about nearly every week since. Maggie, she said, you have to build a Tuesday. I had no idea what she meant. She explained. When you're raising children or working, the week has shape already built into it. Tuesday has the carpool. Thursday has the staff meeting. You don't have to manufacture a reason to be somewhere, the calendar does it for you. But when that scaffolding falls away, the days go soft. And when the days blur, so do the people in them. And before long you're moving through the week without ever really landing in it. So build something, Ruth said. Something small. Something on a Tuesday. I did. Every Tuesday morning I go to the public library in town. Same chair, same window, same hour. The librarian there, a young man named Curtis, can't be more than 30, always asks what I'm reading. I always ask what he's reading. It's 5 minutes, maybe less. But it's mine. It's steady. And steady matters more than I ever understood when I was younger. Purpose doesn't have to look like anything grand. It just has to be Tuesday. It just has to be real and show up every week whether you feel like it or not. Last fall I met a woman at the community garden named Vivian. She was 71. Recently widowed. New to town. She was standing in front of a raised bed of rosemary with the look of someone who'd planted it carefully and was already worried it wasn't going to make it. I didn't even introduce myself first. I just said, "It needs more sun. And less water than you think." She looked up and laughed. Well, that's the story of my life. We stood there for nearly an hour. Talking about gardening, about grief, about what it costs to move to a new town at 71 because every corner of the old one held someone you were still missing. She told me things she hadn't told anyone yet. I told her things I hadn't said out loud in a while either. We've had coffee every other Thursday since. Going on 8 months now. The people who need you are already out there. They're standing in front of rosemary that's getting too much water, hoping someone says the first word. Most of the time, that someone has to be you. I want to say something honestly, because I know some of you have felt this. There are days when you feel invisible. Not unloved. Just unseen. You could move through an entire afternoon without anyone knowing you were there. Your phone is quiet. The inbox is empty. You make a meal, eat it alone, clean up, and the world keeps turning without once glancing your way. And a small voice says, maybe your chapter of being necessary has simply ended. I want to tell you, gently, from someone who's heard that voice, it is not telling you the truth. What it's really saying is, you've been still for too long. And stillness, if you let it go on, starts to feel like absence. But it's not the same thing at all. Being needed, past a certain age, isn't something that happens to you. It's something you walk toward. Even on the days when walking toward anything sounds like too much. About 18 months ago I started walking in the mornings. Nothing ambitious. Just 30 minutes before the heat came up. First few weeks I wore my earphones and listened to a podcast and barely looked up. Getting it done. Then one morning my earphones died halfway through, and I didn't feel like going back for them. So I just walked. And I started seeing things I'd been passing without noticing. There was a man on Sycamore Street, always out tending his roses at 6:30. We started waving. Then nodding. Then one morning he called out, "Killer frost coming Thursday, cover your tomatoes." Just like that. I didn't even know he'd noticed I had a garden. His name is Harold. We've been waving to each other for a year now. Last week he left a cutting of his prize climbing rose on the wall with a handwritten note, "For your garden, Margaret." I stood on the sidewalk and read that note twice. This man I'd never once had a full conversation with had gone to the trouble of clipping a piece of something he was proud of and writing my name on a note for me. Connection doesn't always begin with a conversation. Sometimes it starts with just being present, in the same place, at the same time, often enough that the world eventually looks up and notices you're there. That Thursday in November, the one I started with, I picked the phone back up. I called my son. He answered on the second ring. I could hear his kids in the background, the television going, all the warm noise of a house mid-evening. And he said, "Mama, I was just thinking about you." Maybe he was. Maybe it's just something you say. Either way, it landed. We talked for 20 minutes. His youngest school play. A neighbor's new dog. What I had on the stove. Nothing important. Everything important. When I hung up I went back to the kitchen and stirred that pot of soup. And the house felt different than it had an hour before. Same house, same evening, same Thursday. But different. Not because anything changed. Just because I'd stepped towards someone instead of talking myself out of it. Getting older doesn't make you invisible. It can feel that way, in the quiet weeks, in the still months. But you are not invisible. You're just waiting to be asked. And more often than feels comfortable, we have to do the asking ourselves. Say hello first. Build your Tuesday. Pick up the phone before you think of a reason not to. Sit on your porch. Tell the woman in the garden that her rosemary needs more sun. You'd be surprised how much world opens up when you stop waiting for it to come looking for you. Thank you for spending these few minutes with me today. Take good care of yourself. I'll be right here next week.